Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srimad is Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Iskcon founder Acharya BBT founder Acharya Jagadguru Savior of the whole world Patni Pavan Srila Prabhupada ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Harinam Sankirtan Mahayagna ki Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramaya ki Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki Nitai Gaur Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text number 29. Chapter 1, Text 29. Yeah. It's a long text. I will read phrase by phrase. Kindly repeat after me. Evam Vashaya Vashama Yaneshu Swataneshva Atha Jagati Patir Jagati Arbudani Ekadasha Parivatsaranam Avyahata Kila Shakara Sara Samprita Dordhanda Yugala Pidita Maurvagunastanita Piramita Dharma Pratipaksho Barhimatyas Chantinam Vedamana Pramoda Prasarana Yokshinyavrida Paramparam Shita Asavalokariciraklesh Chiraklesh Shveli Adibihi Shveli Adibihi Parabhuya Bhuyamana Viveka Ivana Ivanava Buddhyamana Iva Mahamana Bubuje. Everybody can try. Huh? Once more. Okay, we'll try. A, word for word. Fine. Thank you. It's tough, this words. Evam. Thus, Upashama Ayaneshu, all well qualified. Swatanayeshu, his own sons. Atha, thereafter, Jagati Patihi, the universe. Jagati, universe. Arbudani, Arbudas. One Arbuda equals Ekadasha, even Parivatsaranam of years. Avyahata, without being interrupted. Akhila, universal. Purushakara, prowess. Sara, strength. Sampratha, endowed with. Dodandaha, of powerful arms. Yugala, by the pair. Abhidita, being drawn. Udviguna, of the bowstring. Stanita, by the loud sound. Viramita, defeated. Dharma, yes, principles. Pratipakshaha, those who are against. Barhishmatyaha, of his wife. Barhishmati cha, and Anudinam, daily. Vedamana, increasing. Pramoda, sing the course. Prasharna, amiability. Aushinya, feminine behavior. Da, shyness. Pramoshita, get back. Asa, laughing. Avaloka, glancing. Ruchira, pleasing. Shevi, Shveli, Shveli, Shveli Aditi, by exchanges of loving propensities. Parabhuyamana, being defeated. Vekaha, his true knowledge. Iva, like Navabuddhyamana, a less intelligent person. Like Mahamana, the great soul. Bubuje, ruled. Translation and purport by His Grace, A.C. Bhakti Prabhupada. After Kavi Mahavilaksana, walked, got up, smiled, laughed, glanced about. Queen Varnashrama. Thus, although he was a great soul, appeared lost in conduct, behaved just actually great soul. What? In this verse, the word dharma pratipaksha, opponents of religious principles, refers not to a particular faith, but to Varnashrama dharma, the division of society, social and spiritual, to four Varnas, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the four ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and sannyasa. To maintain proper social order, help the citizens gradually progress towards the goal of spiritual understanding. The principles of Varnashrama dharma must be accepted. These words, Maharaja Priyavrata appears to have been so strict in maintaining this institution of Varnashrama dharma that anyone neglecting it would immediately flee from his presence as soon as the king warned him by fighting administering light punishment. Indeed, Maharaj Priyavrata would not have to fight, for simply because of his strong determination, he dared not disobey the rules and the regulations of Varnashrama Dharma. It is said that unless the human society is regulated by Varnashrama Dharma, it is no better than a bestial society of cats and dogs. Maharaj Priyavrata therefore strictly maintained Varnashrama Dharma by his extraordinary, unparalleled prowess. To maintain such a life of strict vigilance, one needs encouragement from his wife. Don't take it too very literally. There are other ways of doing this also. In the Varnashrama Dharma system, certain classes such as Brahmanas, Sannyasis do not need encouragement from the opposite sex. This is more like it. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai, Shri Shri Gaurnithai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki. In any case, I'll repeat this line. In the Varnashrama system, certain classes, such as the Brahmanas and Sannyasis, do not need encouragement from the opposite sex. Kshatriyas and Grihasthas, however, actually need the encouragement of their wives in order to execute their duties. Indeed, a Grihastha or Kshatriya cannot properly execute his responsibilities without the association of his wife. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally admitted that a Grihastha must live with a wife. Kshatriyas were even allowed to have many wives to encourage them in discharging the duties of the government. The association of a good wife is necessary in a life of karma and political affairs. To execute his duties properly, therefore, Maharaj Priyavrata took advantage of his good wife Parihishmati, who was always very expert in pleasing her great husband by properly dressing herself, smiling exhibiting her feminine bodily features. Queen Barhishmati always kept Maharaj Priyavrata very encouraged, and thus he executed his governmental duties properly. In this verse, Iva has twice been used to indicate that Maharaj Priyavrata acted exactly like a henpecked husband. Acted exactly like a henpecked husband, and thereby seemed to have lost his sense of human responsibility. Actually, however, he was conscious of his position as a spirit soul, although he seemingly behaved like an acquiescent karmi husband. Maharaj Priyavrata thus ruled the universe for 11 arbudas of years. One arbuda is 100 million years. And Maharaj Priyavrata ruled the universe for 11 such arbudas. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Akshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Snapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Rati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Paridana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Upesha Gopika Tanta Radha Kanta Mostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. After Kavi, Mahavira and Savana, were completely trained in the paramahamsa stage of life, Maharaj Priyavrata ruled the universe for 11 arbudas of years. Whenever he was determined to fix his arrow upon his bowstring with his two powerful arms, all opponents of the regulative principles of religious life would flee from his presence in fear of his unparalleled prowess he displayed in ruling the universe. He greatly loved his wife Barhishmati, and with the increase of days, their exchange of nuptial love also increased by her feminine behavior. As she dressed herself, walked, got up, smiled and laughed, and glanced about, Queen Barhishmati increased his energy. Although he was a great soul, he appeared lost in the feminine conduct of his wife. He behaved with her just like an ordinary man, but actually he was a great soul. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatharinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So here it begins with the reference to three of his sons, Kavi, Mahavira and Savana. Now, they are being spoken about from verse number 26. It says he had 10 sons. So, three among these 10 sons, namely Kavi, Mahavira and Savana, lived in complete celibacy, thus trained in brahmachari life. From the beginning of their childhood, they were conversant with the highest perfection known as the Paramahamsa Ashrama. So, three of his sons, Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana, lived in complete celibacy, thus trained in brahmachari life from the beginning of their childhood. They were conversant with the highest perfection known as the Paramahamsa Ashrama. And then in the next verse it is said, thus situated in the renounced order from the beginning of their life, all three of them completely controlled the activities of their senses and thus became great saints. Kavi, Mahavira and Savana. They concentrated their mind always upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavataha Vasudevasya. So it is said that they were all concentrating their mind always on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is the resting place of the totality of the living entities and who is therefore celebrated as Vasudeva. By Lord Vasudeva is the only shelter of those who are actually afraid of the material existence. Here the word uses Bhitanam, of those afraid of material existence. Sharana Bhutasya, the one who is the only shelter. Charana Ravinda takes the shelter of the lotus feet of Vasudeva. That means everybody who is afraid of the material existence is recommended to take the shelter of Vasudeva. By constantly thinking of his lotus feet, Charana Ravinda, Avirata. Avirata means constantly, Smarana means remembering. Avirata Smarana, Avigalita, completely uncontaminated, Parama Bhakti Yoga. By constantly thinking of his lotus feet, these three sons of Maharaja Priyavrata became advanced in pure devotional service. By the prowess of their devotional service, they could directly perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it said Bhakti Yoga Anubhavena. By the prowess, Paribhavita, purified within, Adhigate, Bhagavati, Sarvesham. Adhigate means perceived. Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarvesham, of all. So that means their bhakti was so pure and uncontaminated that they could directly perceive the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart. Atma Bhute, situated within the body, Pratyak, directly, Atmani, who is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul, and realized that there was qualitatively no difference between themselves and the Lord. That means qualitatively no difference between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. They're one and of the same nature. So in the next verse, it is said, of course, he had another wife named, he had one more wife. He got three sons named Uttama, Tamasa and Raivata. But in today's verse number 21, it begins by talking about Kavi, Mahavira and Savana. After Kavi, Mahavira and Savana were completely trained in the Paramahamsa stage of life. So it is said that Maharaja Priyavrata trained his three sons, namely Kavi, Mahavira and Savana, to become Paramahamsas, which means to practice celibacy from the early stages of their life and to perfect their bhakti yoga process, pure uncontaminated process. And then it is mentioned that anybody who's afraid of the material existence should take shelter of Vasudeva, because he is the ultimate shelter of all the living entities, ultimate supreme shelter. So he encouraged he encouraged his three sons to reach the Paramahamsa platform of surrender to Krishna Vasudeva. After they achieved that kind of a perfection, then he had other sons, he trained them to become kings. But it is specifically mentioned that these three sons, he trained them to become Paramahamsas. So, Priyavrata was the king and he wanted somebody to succeed him. But at the same time, he saw that these three sons had some inclination towards Paramahamsa uh, lifestyle. So he trained them. And then the remaining, he trained them to be kings, I guess. So here it is, in this particular verse, it is mentioned in the beginning that Priyavrata trained his three sons to become celibate, Paramahamsas, renunciates, give up everything. But in the later part of the same verse, it is said that how King Priyavrata seemed to be enjoying with his wife, Parhishmati. Somebody would call this hypocrisy. He wants his sons to do what he doesn't want to do. Something like that. Some kind of hypocrisy is what they would say. But Prabhupada clarifies and says that it appeared that he was enamored by his wife. It appeared. He behaved like a henpecked husband, but he was not really a henpecked husband. Priyavrata was no less a devotee than his three sons, Kavis, Mahavira and Samana. He was also a devotee. He was also a devotee of extraordinary caliber. We should also remember that he was a devotee who was specially blessed by Brahma, Narada, Manu, all the elders and the sages, that don't worry, you will not be contaminated, you will not be polluted, you will not become, you lose your intensity of bhakti, but please carry on, please become the king. And they reckoned that he was one of the best qualified to become the king. They gave him that blessing. But nevertheless, we see here that it appears like Priyavrata seems to be enjoying his dealings with his wife. And it is so candidly mentioned here, candidly and openly mentioned here, that by her feminine behavior, as she dressed herself, got up, walked, smiled, laughed, glanced about, Queen Barhishmati increased his energy, and it seemed like that their exchange of nuptial love increased by her feminine behavior. So how can somebody who trains his sons to be a Paramahamsas suddenly seem to be relaxing and personally seem to be enjoying the bliss and feminine association and seem to be like that? It's a bit of a contradiction, bit of a, in English they use the word oxymoron. Oxymoron means the first part of the statement contradicts the second. So here you can say it's an oxymoronic type of a verse, because the first part of the verse talks about how we encourage his three children to become celibate, paramahamsas, renunciate, sannyasis, everything. And the next part of the verse conveniently starts talking about how he seemed to be enjoying the feminine behavior of his wife. But Prabhupada writes clearly, he was very conscious, always conscious that he was a soul, spirit soul, servant of Krishna. And and he never forgot that part. And thereby, and Priyavrata acted exactly like a henpecked husband. However, he was fully conscious of his position as a spirit soul. Although he seemingly behaved like an acquiescent karmi. Acquiescent means one who is surrendered to his wife, henpecked husband, one who is surrendered or become very obedient to his wife. Uh, but then, of course, Prabhupada also mentions in terms of a Varna Ashrama classification, maybe the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas need some encouragement from wife. So they need some support, some encouragement, and companionship of a wife. Um, Generally, the wife is the most confidential associate of a man because peop- men, I mean, people tend to disclose to their wife what they don't disclose to anybody else in the world. Oh, this happened in the meeting today. He did this, he did that. I felt so upset. Like that, like what we can't say boldly outside, we'll go and tell our wife. What we can't complain when something goes wrong, we'll go and tell our wife. And then the wife, generally in a Vedic system, she compliments in the sense that she will pacify, cajole, and tell, okay, don't worry, you're not so bad. uh, Good days will come. Achhe din aayenge. Don't worry. So she will console the husband, and it's considered important for a typical Kshatriya and Vaishya. This is considered important. They need to be. I mean, that is their psychological level. They're not like Brahmanas and celibate students and paramahamsas. They're not. They're not. So, nor is it required for them to pretend that they have reached that platform. They're that level, and that's fine. That's kind of okay. They're Kshatriyas, and let them live honestly like Kshatriyas or Vaishyas. Let them not artificially try to live on a platform that they don't naturally belong to. It makes things complicated. So, if that is what they want some encouragement from their wife and um, from their partner, or whatever. So, so be it. So, but then it is important that the women also understand what role they have. Women should see that the man's purity, chastity, loyalty, strength, morality is protected. Many times Prabhupada says that this is the this is the one of the functions of the. I mean, marriage. I'm not saying women is less, man is more. Marriage is they support one another. That whole system is devised and designed in such a way that they support one another. One lives for the other. Husband lives for the wife in one sense, and the wife supports the husband. It's not a mutually competitive arrangement, marriage. It's not, that's what current day marriages have become. So they both compete. No, so when they compete, the spirit of cooperation is diluted. They support one another. And with the acknowledgement that the man is the head of the family. Man is the head of the. See, you can't have two heads. It doesn't work. So man is the head of the family. Man is the leader. Man is the lead. Man is the guide. And man takes the final call. So when we have that kind of a hierarchy, then there's peace in the family. There's peace. There is harmony uh, in the family, and that has a Vedic sanction. And if someone does that, lives like that, then it has a Vedic sanction. Vedic sanction means there'll be peace, harmony, happiness, good children, progeny, etc. in the family, and they support one another. But then, see, Prabhupada is also careful. He says that to maintain such a strict vigilance, one needs encouragement from his wife. In the Varnashrama society, certain classes of, however, in Varnashrama society, certain classes such as the Brahmanas and sannyasis do not need encouragement. They do not need. They can manage without it. The Brahmanas and sannyasis, how can they manage without encouragement from the wife or something like that? Brahmacharis, actually, the word used here is not brahmacharis. The brahmanas and the sannyasis do not need such encouragement because they are intrinsically, they're morally, they're stronger and they're more determined. And I mean, they're more stronger, determined, more mature, and they're honest. They introspect and they honestly analyze, and they have a much higher faith in Guru, Krishna, the deities. Their level of surrender to Vasudeva is very high, much higher. So they surrender to Vasudeva, and that relationship of surrender to Vasudeva, Krishna, is very complete. It's complete. And hence they don't need any relationship, a supportive relationship with anybody else in this world. They don't need any support or encouragement from anybody. Whatever they want, they get from Krishna. Krishna directly guides them. Krishna instructs them. Krishna inspires them. Krishna. But, you know, they are the Brahmanas and the sannyasis. They get their answers from Krishna. They get their answers from scripture. They get their answers from their guru. Uh, they deal with their dilemmas and other difficulties directly with their guru, and they're pretty well situated because of their level of surrender, because of their level of honesty and integrity. They're honest with themselves. I have a problem. Let me face it. Let me deal with it. So they bring about a much higher level of honesty, determination, and faith. Actually, faith, because Krishna says, "Yogakshemam vahamyaham." So it is not a statement of exaggeration. It is not a hyperbole. It is not a metaphor. It is a direct matter of fact statement that Krishna is saying. The scriptures, it is said, Krishna says, and they have faith in that, and they actually rely on inspiration from Krishna and their own sadhana, the way they chant and the way, etc. So they have a spiritual support system for themselves. The guru, maybe their peers, other sannyasi god brothers, maybe their peers, their guru, other people that they talk to. But they don't take the risk of getting such advice from a woman. Now, the problem with associating with a woman is that relationship will, if it is not properly calibrated and executed, it may bind you. You may get carried away. It may bind you into material association. Because even in the case of a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a other class of people who marry, both the husband and wife have to be extremely responsible. The duty of the husband is to protect the wife, take care of the wife, do things which are pleasing to the wife. And the duty of the wife is to be a pillar of strength for the husband, strength and encouragement. And the duty of the wife is to see that the husband is supported so completely that he stays loyal, he stays chaste, he stays, when I say loyal, chaste, he stays determined, and he stays focused on the ultimate goal of life. That's the duty of the wife. That is the glory of the wife. That brings credit to the wife. The glory, that is the perfection of a woman to be a nice wife. There's nothing demeaning about this. It is perfect. That's how nature is made. That's how nature is crafted. A woman has a different role, man has a different role. Of course, in the current days, people tend to be confused. Who is what and what is who. I mean, like that. But that isn't how the scriptures have. So, because they deviate. Now, here it is said, if somebody were to deviate from these principles of Varnashrama, then it is said that Maharaja Priyavrata would be very forceful. But he was so strong and so uncompromisingly strong that it became very difficult to resist him. There was no need for him to take an arrow and fix it on his bow, because his very presence created so much fear among those who dared to disobey the instructions and guidelines of the Varnashrama. There was no need for him to fight at all. His mere presence was enough to sort out these problems. They were scared to deviate. So that is Kshatriya. That's a true Kshatriya. So he took support from his wife. He was charmed by the feminine gestures of his wife, but he never deviated, nor did he contaminate himself, nor did he dilute any of his beliefs. So, nevertheless, there is the issue here. How is it this Priyavrata Maharaj seems to enjoy with his wife, and he encourages his sons to be celibate and not marry at all? Maybe they were Brahmanas, they showed the qualities of a Brahmana and showed qualities of sannyasi, and then he picked them up and trained them. You see, it's interesting to see that he didn't train all his children to be Brahmanas and sannyasis. He trained 3 of them, which means he has used some criteria. He saw some spark in them and picked them up and trained them to become Brahmanas, renunciates, paramahamsas, celibate, and said, "You go. Now you don't have to worry about how this world is managed, who will be the king after me, or like that. That's not your somebody else somewhere. Somebody else will take care of that. You continue. You become paramahamsas. You learn to surrender completely to Vasudeva. You're very well situated. But other sons he trains. So, obviously there must have been some criteria that Priyavrata Maharaj used, and then he trained 3 of them to become Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. But Prabhupada is very clear. He says everybody in the society should have some kind of Brahminical training. Everybody without exception. If you don't have Brahminical training, if you don't have training of uh, uh, some level of renunciation, simple life, etc. If you don't have, then your grasta life will be a disaster, because you lose focus on what's the actual goal of life. You completely become maybe that's what we say. He becomes a grihamedi. It's no longer an ashram where mutual spiritual benefit is accrued to both of them. Then there's a risk that you'll become a grihamedi. So Prabhupada says everybody should have a mandatory training. And that's why it's said that everybody goes to a Gurukul, spend some time there. Even though he may be the son of a king or a millionaire or a billionaire, everyone goes to the same Gurukul, they wear the same type of dress, sit together, they sleep together, they eat the same food, etc. It's so important. And because then, see, we are all children of the same God. I mean, we all children of Krishna. So we have a universal view that money and this and power and authority are either temporary or unimportant. They're temporary and unimportant and of no consequence. Real thing is how much bhakti I have for Guru, for Krishna, and for the principles of bhakti and dharma. And you know, I may be a kshatriya, I may be brahmana, but I have to use whatever I have in a very responsible manner. My power, my knowledge, my prowess, everything in a very responsible way. So that is how everybody is trained. So Prabhupada said that at least the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas should have this benefit of this kind of a training of living in an ashram, living under the guidance of a guru, living as a servant of a guru. Otherwise, if such untrained people get power, they can cause pain and havoc in the society. So Priyavrata was already a paramahamsa type of a devotee. He never hankered for power. He never hankered for position. He never showed any interest in power, position, being the king. It required Brahma, Narada, Swayambhuva Manu, all of them to come and persuade him. Oh, please become a king. He was just not interested. So, in that sense, he was already on a Paramahamsa level of a very perfect renunciant. He had to be persuaded, he had to be convinced, he had to be blessed, he had to be assured that there would be no. I mean, you'll not become a less of a devotee because you're going to sit on a throne. You'll marry, and you'll have king. You'll be a king, and you'll have wife, and you'll have children. So his original nature of being a Paramahamsa resurfaces in his heart, and he says, "Mera kahani to, my story changed because all these great people came and made me the king." He told 3 of his sons, "Your story does not have to change. You go, you go, you go." And I produced 10 children. In your place, somebody else is there. You people go. Nobody will disturb you. I will not disturb you. And and because there's someone else to succeed me, Brahma, Narada, Manu will not come and bother you. Also, you go. You become sannyasis. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that. At least you do. So, Priyavrata's original nature of a renunciant, a paramahamsa, was strong and intact. It's not that he's recommending his children, he's trying to. No, he feels that he was burdened burdened with the responsibility of becoming a king, a grasta, manage a wife, manage family, manage children, manage the kingdom. He didn't want it. He never wanted it. He said, I'm so blissfully situated. Why will I sacrifice this just to become a king? What sense does it make to give up my life and go and sit on a throne? Priyavrata would say, it doesn't make sense to me. Why should I give up being? I'm not. But then he had to be persuaded, saying somebody has to sit on the throne, and it better be somebody who doesn't want to sit. It better be someone who doesn't want to sit on the throne rather than somebody who's very anxious to sit on the throne. Somebody who's very anxious to sit on the throne, maybe, which means he's not properly trained. Like Duryodhana was so anxious to grab his father's throne, uh, Yudhishthira's throne, everything under the sun. He was so anxious. Shows he was untrained, untrained and misfit to be a king. So the original fire within Priyavrata surfaces again, and he himself liberates three of his children who showed that kind of an inclination. He says, you go. I'll see that nobody disturbs you. He's so happy, he's so proud that three of his children became. And then, yes, it seems like he's enjoying Grihastha life. But then you see, a devotee has a different outlook in the sense that a devotee is always thinking, okay, let's see what Krishna will do today. What Because a devotee is always thinking, I want to become an instrument in the hands of Guru and Krishna. He doesn't have any other plans other than that. He's always focused on that. May I become an instrument. So devotee is thinking, okay, let me see what's in store today. What's going to happen today? What Krishna will make happen? What Krishna will make it happen? I mean, what will happen by the mercy of Krishna today? And no matter what happens, I wish to stay focused on being a soul completely dependent on Krishna, surrendered, completely dependent. Krishna, focused on wanting to serve and please Krishna. This is my determination. And let me see what all manifests today, what all events unfold today. Priyavrata is very much like that, pretty much like that. He just never, there's never a trace of a compromise in this. It appears that he is enjoying. Prabhupada writes to this word appears like he is enjoying, appears twice in this verse. Prabhupada clarifies. Well, you see, there is no denying that if you have a wife if you're a Kshatriya mindset, Kshatriya Grihastha mindset, you have a wife and she's pampering you and she's taking care of you and she's always supporting you and supporting you psychologically, physiologically, even also through her feminine gestures, she's encouraging you. It appears like, there's some kind of a happiness in that kind of transactions. It appears like there is happiness. We can't deny that. Man is structured like that, woman is structured like that. There is some kind of happiness when man and women get together in a within the ambit of a Vedic sanction. If it is done within the ambit of a Vedic sanction, yes, there is some kind of a happiness. But we also have to realize that that happiness has one level of, uh, what can I say? It goes to a particular level, and that's it. That is happiness that one derives when when you indulge in some kind of a sensory pleasure. Now, much more intense than the pleasure that we experience, sensory pleasure that we can experience, is when it is said that when we focus on something like achieving a goal or something like that. So, like somebody wants to become a world champion, world this, world that. They are so focused on that they don't even have the time to get married or wife, family or children. They're completely focused on that. But then that's also anything to do, any happiness that you derive out of a material permutation combination is very transient. Transient means non-permanent. You may be the world champion, but of course you'll enjoy that being the world champion for a few days. After some time, we'll get used to that, and then it's no longer gives you as much pleasure as it gave you on the day when you became the world champion. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 365, it's no longer gives you the same type of pleasure that it gave you on the first day. So anything within the material realm, whether it is a dealings between a husband and a wife, or a wife and children, father and anybody, anything in the material thing has some kind of a limit on how much happiness it can generate. And the problem with that happiness also, it is diminishing. It diminishes. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's not of the same quality. It's not. Whereas it is said that whatever happiness we experience by being a devotee, by serving Krishna, serving Guru, the Vaishnavas, it is increasing. Anandambudhi Vardhanam. It is increasing. It increases to the point where you start feeling that all these material happiness are of no consequence, or don't, or it goes up to the point where you may not even be interested in these kind of transactions, transitory happiness that you get through some kind of a material transactions, because nobody can make you as happy as Krishna can. In Krishna's name, the word na, Krishna, na indicates giver of happiness. Rama also gives somebody who pleases the senses. So nobody can give you as much happiness as Krishna can. Definitely no material personality. Maybe the most beautiful person, most beautiful lady, nobody. As long as they're within, I mean, it can be even some apsaras from the heavenly planets, but never. But we have to understand, nevertheless, because they're part of this material world, that happiness we get is there. Definitely, there's some happiness is there, but it is classified as being transitory, transient. Transitory means momentary, doesn't last long, and it is diminishing. It diminishes. Anything. It may be the union of the most handsome person with the most beautiful lady. It may be the union of the most powerful Kshatriya and the most beautiful Apsara. The happiness slowly decreases. And then one also reaches a point when one starts getting disgusted with such an activity. Forget about being a diminishing happiness, you even become disgusted with such an activity. Actually, that type of behavior is called hedonism, hedonistic behavior. In the sense that somebody who has blind faith in materialistic transactions and materialistic uh, pleasures and happiness. Somebody who has blind faith, who has total faith, he believes that purpose of life is to be happy and avoid pain. It's called hedonism. Purpose of life is to be happy and avoid pain. Pleasure. And pleasure at any cost. Such a person is called a hedonistic person. Pleasure at any cost. That's one Western philosophy. Because it's mentioned also in the Vedic philosophical philosophical delineation. There's a place for something equivalent to hedonism. Like there's some saint, I forgot his name. He says that be happy, even if you have to steal. You steal, you eat well, eat nice food, hot food, get ghee, nicely cooked everything. You can't afford, doesn't matter, steal, but be happy, seek pleasure. That is the essence of life. Charvaka. That's the essence of life. But there's a problem with that approach. The problem with that approach is that anything hot, rice with ghee and this and that, everything has a diminishing return. All material transactions have diminishing return. First time you become the world champion, there's some kind of pleasure. Second day, diminishes. You may pretend otherwise, but the fact is it diminishes. Even when there is, like I said, the most handsome person uniting with the most beautiful lady, the happiness one derives is also diminishing, which is why they become increasingly frustrated and disgusted with one another. But because we have faith in hedonism, what they do is they say, okay, I'm tired of this lady or whatever, let me look for someone else. A hedonistic person will never give up his, what is it called? His seeking of pleasure. So if he's frustrated, he will think that, okay, let me look for someone else, someone else or even something else. But I want my senses to be happy. Hedonism is somebody who has faith in him eventually will become a person who's depressed, delusional, or lunatic. May become insane by practicing that hedonism. But on the other hand, the happiness one derives from associating with Krishna, serving Krishna, worshipping Krishna is incremental, slowly and steadily, provided you're not doing offenses. The happiness we derive by chanting Hare Krishna also goes on increasing. Serving Krishna, serving with devotees, associating with devotees is increasing. Anandambudhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. And the happiness we derive from Krishna is constitutionally, by serving Krishna, is constitutionally the kind of happiness that we are built for. Just as a fish is built for living in sea, in water. Some birds fly. We are built, we are made. Our happiness is constitutionally, we are supposed to derive by serving Krishna. It's complete, it's wholesome, it's 360 degrees. It increases, it is sustained by serving Krishna. It is not that we are telling people, you want to be happy, it's wrong. It's hedonism. You can't be happy. That's not what we are saying. We're saying your desire to seek happiness is your inherent right. It's your adhikara. It is your right. Just that you're searching for it. You're seeking it in the wrong way, in the wrong place, by doing the wrong things. There's so much more happiness in serving Krishna. And Krishna is waiting. His name is Krishna. One who gives happiness, shares happiness. Constitutionally, our perfection of our life is when we are connected with Krishna. It is incomplete when we are not connected with Krishna. And we seek independently. We seek happiness independently. When we seek happiness independently, then, of course, we say that's one level of Maya. Maya means illusory belief, wrong belief that there is happiness when you're disconnected from Krishna. There's only misery. It may appear like as happiness, but it will go to a level where you'll be disgusted, you'll be unhappy, and you'll start searching for something else, which is why it is said, Puna Puna Charvita Charvananam. After you're tired of one activity, you'll try something else. After that, something else, something else. You keep searching for happiness in a place where it doesn't exist. Yeah, in a place where it doesn't exist. Actually, devotees also become mature and they stop looking for happiness, in the sense that it's given to them by their sincerity, by their sacrifice. It's given. Krishna gives happiness. Krishna wants to see that his devotees are happy. His devotees are blissful, are happy, are smiling, are laughing. Whatever Krishna does is in the direction of trying to make his devotees happy. 7 days and 7 nights he holds up the Govardhan, and Krishna is so blissful because everybody is happy. Whatever Krishna does is directed towards making his devotees happy. And that kind of happiness is what we are constitutionally built to enjoy. But because of illusion means misconception, misinterpretation, wrongful belief, illusion. Because of illusion, we're searching for happiness in a place where it doesn't exist. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to be happy. Which is why Prabhupada says, Acharyas say, try. Once you try chanting Hare Krishna, become a devotee, experience yourself. We are not the type of happiness, the degree of happiness, the intensity of happiness, the completeness of the experience of happiness is very different. Your soul, every anga of your body, every cell of your body, your soul, your atma, your consciousness, your mind, everything becomes soaked in happiness, immersed in happiness. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you'll drown in an ocean of happiness. If you at all turn towards Krishna and say, Krishna, I mean, they tell me it's not wrong to be, I also want to be happy. Krishna will say, come, that's my business. My business is to make you all happy. You have not come. Now that you've come, I'll take care. Like that, a business. So Priyavrata Maharaj may have appeared to, I mean, but but Priyavrata Maharaj is always conscious that sustainable, real happiness. So Prabhupada explains that when husband and wife together want to serve Krishna, then that's a perfect arrangement. That's a perfect arrangement. Husband wants to serve, sets high standards, wife supports him. That's a perfect arrangement. And of course, the husband has to be conscious. Women have a different type of psychology. We take care, we etc. We give them time, affection, love, everything. So then that's together wanting to serve Krishna. Actually, this is not something that is there between husband and wife. That's between guru and disciple. Together they want to serve Krishna. Between the king and the praja, together they want to serve Krishna. That is perfection. Together we want to serve. Together we want to please Krishna. That is perfection. And then among the people, there are different levels. There is the Brahmana. Brahmana is very intense. The difference between a Kshatriya and a Brahmana is extremely intelligent, intense on focusing on the essence. Okay, if happiness is what I have to experience, and the best quality of happiness is by doing service to Krishna, I want to do that and nothing else. So Brahmanas have intensity, very intense. And like I said, the level of faith is very, very high. This is what the scriptures say. I want to do that. I want to try that. Brahmana's faith is high, very high level of faith, very high intensity of sadhana. They can't be deviated. They'll say, let me try this. If it doesn't work, then I'll see something else. So their intensity is high, their faith is very high. Their, and and then they try their whole approach to life is very different. Like that. But the Kshatriyas, they're a little attracted by this world. Can't deny that. Kshatriyas are a little fascinated. They have a little inclination. They have that inclination to exercise power, authority, and so on. So they're one level lesser than the Brahmanas, and hence for them they need that entire ecosystem of support, which means the wife, children, and when they go to the palace, when they go to the, you know, when they sit as the king, they have ministers around them, and they're always glorified, and people appreciate them and glorify them, and like they like it. But then, of course, the real Kshatriya is not carried away by it. Like Dasharatha, when he used to come and sit in his throne, there were people who would sing glories of Dasharatha, starting from glorifying his Vamsha, Ikshvaku Vamsha, all the way to glorifying Dasharatha. And later on, they would glorify Dasharatha's children, especially Lord Rama. But they would be glorified. They would have servants. They would have power. They would have authority. They would have, they would so they have a little different kind of a mindset. Little different. And for them, that concession is given. All right, you also have women who will support and encourage you. And that's perfection for women to play a critical role in a society by supporting what is the ultimate and the highest goal. So that's perfect harmony is there. So one should not think that Priyavrata Maharaj got carried away. He was just executing. He was being a perfect Kshatriya. He was behaving like a perfect Kshatriya who takes support from his wife and encouragement, support, and looks at his wife's feminine grace and qualities and encourages her. He was playing the role of a perfect Kshatriya, while deep inside he was a totally renunciant person, which is why he encouraged 3 of his sons, get lost, go. Don't even turn back the side, become renunciants. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Yes. Any comments or questions? What happened? Yeah, you can speak. I can hear. Huh? 10, I think.
But you told that he is become conscious, but he is little bit coming out from that position. So my question is this, Prabhu. Like this situation is looking like a handpack husband. So how to understand, matlab how to make the border to understand what is the condition of handpack husband and what is the position of a devotee husband? How to understand this point?
So you're asking what is the difference between Priyavrata acting as an henpecked husband and somebody who's really a henpecked husband? See, a henpecked husband does not go beyond the interest, the preferences, the advice of his wife. Does not go beyond. For him, his life is all about executing his wife's whatever desires, plans, instructions, and so on. So, in other words, he sets aside principles of higher principles of dharma, his guru, other interests in life. I mean, other higher principles of life, because his wife has told, and for him, it's more important to please his wife. Somebody for whom it's very important to please his wife over and beyond all other considerations. He's a henpecked husband. But somebody who acts like a henpecked husband, he's doing that just to please his wife. Just to please his wife. Because women by nature need a certain amount of pampering, attention, time, receive affection, love. Generally, I don't want to get into a debate about that, but generally that's how women are. They like it, they want it. So otherwise, they feel very incomplete, or they actually feel very insecure also if they're not getting it. So he's acting like that. He's just acting just to keep his wife happy, just to maintain harmony in his marital life. But has he? Is his wife more important to him than serving his guru Krishna or Bhakti or something? The answer is no. He's just managing his wife. Henpecked husband is at the command of his wife. So we see sometimes people go and they sit and listen, listen to their wife, chat with their wife, talk, joke, go out, indulge in the wife's preferences, just to keep her maintain harmony in marital life. Because women have that kind of a requirement. Not just physically, they will have some men also for that matter. Physically, also women needs to be what shall I say? Receive affection, love, affection, attention, etc. So a man who wants harmony in his family will make sure that needs of a woman are satisfied. But it is said clearly, sometimes the brahmanas, the high class brahmanas, the sannyasis, paramahamsas don't want to do that. Just to satisfy the wife, pretend like you're a henpecked person. So why have a wife at all? Forget it. Why have a wife and then pretend that you like her and pretend that, and then adjust to her and take her out and wish her on a birthday, wish her on this, that. Headache. I don't even remember my birthday. What to speak of remembering my wife's birthday and celebrating it like that. But someone who's trying to be a Krsna has to be he has to be trained, especially if he has been a brahmachari and then entering Grihasthashram, he has to be trained because women have a completely different psychological requirements. They have to be trained.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, I just wanted to say something, Prabhu. Thank you for all the good points. After hearing everything from this lecture and before also, from this chapter especially, one important point that struck to me was that generally devotion is understood to be like showing external tyaga, renunciation, or displaying some higher qualities generally. But in this chapter, as I understood, you also said that the mindset is important in a devotee. and then no, nothing comes as a barrier. Uh, a devotee, when he has a proper mindset, uh, then he relishes devotion. Like, it's not that he doesn't have to be a king. He can be a very opulent person, but still he can maintain that purity in devotion if he has a proper mindset. What do you say about this, bro?
You see, independent of one's social standing, you may be a king, you may be a rich man, you may be a businessman, you may be a prime minister, minister, this, that, anything. Independent of one's social standing, if one is always conscious that I'm servant of Guru and Krishna, servant of the Brahmanas, servant of Vaishnavas, I'm a servant. I'm at the beck and call of these people, independent of one's social standing. Then such a person, we can say, is ready. He can take the highest of responsibilities. Like Yudhishthira became the king. Bhishma said, you're more qualified now than anybody else in the world now to be the king, because you're always conscious that you're servant of Guru, servant of Krishna, servant of Dharma, servant of truthfulness. You're never deviated from that determination and focus. And you'll never be carried away by wealth or power or authority or beauty or anything. You'll never be carried away. You're always sharp, very sharp. That's why when Krishna leaves this world, Yudhishthira says, I don't have any other relation. There's no meaning in for me to stay back. I don't have to be in this world now that Krishna has left. So that's not so easy to achieve. That's easier said than done. Somebody who's always under the supervision of a guru, of Vaishnavas, of Brahmanas, of Acharyas, like Lord Rama was. All great kings, great. In the Bhagavatam model is Kshatriyas are always monitored, mentored uh, uh, by a panel of Acharyas. So somebody who's like that, he's transcendental. He can he can have power, authority, or anything. But the point is to stay focused. I am a servant, nothing else but a servant. Nice point. Thank you very much. Nataraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava.